This call is being recorded.
This is Jazzy Ghana Radio Anything Africa, your weekly internet radio show on Jazzy Ghana Radio, the heart of Newak. We are the voice of Africa. And I also think that we are the heart of Africa because we talk things Africa. We discuss Africa and Africans and issues affecting Africa. This is your host, Kofi Ayim, and we've been joined by our co-host and producer, Sadiq Abubakar, and the co-host, regular co-host, Dr. Kwame Akono, is on an assignment. He's very occupied with his project, but he may call in later. And don't think that is because of Nigeria, it does not affect you. No, it affects the whole of us. It affects the Western African side. And then, by virtue of its sheer size and population, it affects the whole of Africa. I just came to the station a little bit late because I had to run from a very good program earlier in the day organized by the Ghanaian Association of Medical Aid Ghana. I think it's ongoing now at the Kenilworth Hotel in Kenilworth, New Jersey. The keynote speaker was Dr. Zachary Yamba, and there was a presentation. And I tell you, those who miss it, don't miss Dama event. The presenter was Dr. Nelson Arua, who is, of course, medical doctor and also assistant professor of medicine, Division of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics at the State University of New Jersey. And you should have heard him speaking. He's a medical doctor, but I don't know whether how he graduated in anthropology or sociology. The man took us everywhere. He took us everywhere and anywhere. He was just so good with his presentation. And I tell you, basic things in medicine that we need to do to live longer. Very, very, very basic things. And those, I hope they recorded the event to be played at subsequent events. Trust me, Dr. Nelson is marvelous, unbelievable. You want to reach him? Yes, you can reach him at 973-972-1880. 973-972-1880. And of course, Gamma is headed by Dr. Andrew Badu. You want to reach Gamma? Let me see. I have your number somewhere. I'll give it to you before the end of the day. But you can reach Dr. Badu at the office number in West Orange, 973-731. Hold on. What's the last 4 digits? I'll get back to you with that. But Dr. Badu is 3880. Yes, 973-731-3880. I hope they are not listening to me because I'll be in trouble with Akosia. And once again, those who miss the branch and networking of Gamma have indeed missed a lot. So Dr. Yamba giving out some information. People have never heard it. And the presenter, Dr. Nazalia, who is originally from Nigeria, That's why we are mentioning him, because today
Hello?
is Physical Security
You are
Day.
on, so hold on, okay?
Okay, good.
Today's presentation, it was just awesome. Awesome. You need to contact Gamma and the way you do things. It does not matter if you're an immigrant when you arrive in the USA. If you are born in the USA, of course, according to Dr. Nelson, yes, you are affected by its environment from inception. From the time you even your wife or your girlfriend, the woman becomes pregnant. But if you came here before the age of 15, you basically have the same environmental factors that affect you. Above that, it's different. He touched on almost everything. Almost everything. Yes, we know of diabetes, we know of high blood pressure, we know of hepatitis, but he talked about basic common things, our dietary, things we should do, traveling long distances. It's unbelievable. And we have Dr.
Hallelujah.
Right? Hello, doctor. Let's welcome you first.
Thank you very much. This is Dr. Aluya.
Please, a little bit louder. We couldn't hear you well.
Yes, I said thank you very much. It's an honor. This is Dr. Aluya.
Yes. Have you left the place?
Yes, I just left the place now.
Well, Doc, your presentation was unbelievable. And today, Nigeria Day, Nigeria is 56 years of age, so it's just appropriate that we start with an indigenous of Nigeria who is, and this wasn't part of the thing that we did. Actually, I just came to the program by invitation of Gamma. I'm not a member, but I think this is the second time we've met. But your presentation was phenomenal, unbelievable, and please,
thank you.
Irrespective of diabetes and high blood pressure and all this, can you just briefly, we don't want to hold you and your time, and maybe because people may call in to ask questions, because we don't know whether you have enough time, but can you please tell us the basic difference between people who migrate to the U.S., Africans, after like age 20 or below age 20, as you were alluding to? I want our listeners to listen, because your presentation was unbelievable. And also, I said earlier, I don't know whether you are an anthropologist or you are a sociologist, because before you delve into the medical aspect of life, you are all over, So who are you, please? Tell us.
Well, my name is Nelson Aluya, Dr. Nelson Aluya. I was born in Benin City, in Edo State, Nigeria, and into a military family. My dad was a military officer, and I grew up traveling all around, the country in Nigeria, and did primary or elementary school and secondary school in different various places in Nigeria, and then went to the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, where I graduated and got my medical training and further training, and then moved over to the United States, where I settled in New Jersey. I came in with my wife then, and then had our baby, and then got into training in Newark, Beth Israel Medical Center, where I was trained both in pediatrics and in internal medicine. Worked a couple of places, and subsequently ended up right now as an assistant professor of medicine and pediatrics at New Jersey Medical School, which is a part of Rutgers University in Newark. So I've been trained in medicine and pediatrics. I come across a lot of patients who I take care from newborn babies from day 1 to 99 or 100 years old plus. So I have a diverse exposure and clinical exposure and knowledge in managing patients from different varieties and different diverse groups and different backgrounds. I also do medical missions to Jamaica, and I've done trips to Kenya also to get further exposure in the care of patients, and that's my emphasis and interest. So I'm pretty well versed in the medical field and knowledge. Being a professor, I teach, and at the same time, I still have to study. So I study a lot, and that's why when, as I began, understanding, I needed to give everybody an understanding of why we turn out to be who we are, because there's always a reason for anything that happens. You may know the reason, but sometimes you may not. But there's always a cause. So understanding the cause, understanding the root cause of anything that happens, is the bedrock for any knowledge that you can build on into achieving any goal that you want to get. So when I delved into the anthropological changes that has happened being as black people, for those who came in the first wave, like I said earlier on, those who came in the ship during slavery, to those who came in the second wave, through seeking work, and even down to those who are here now on the fourth wave with the newer generations who have come in. There are changes that happened. And these changes happened that has affected us as individuals, and then collectively as a race. So it's funny to understand that Africans who come directly from Africa are in better health as compared to African Americans who live here and Africans who migrated to Europe first before even coming to the United States. And that's because there are environmental factors that affect things, that alter our health and how we approach our health. And that's the premise of everything.
Well, so let's say my children are old. They were born here. Would they have a different environmental impact from me, who is an old man?
Right. Yes, they will. Because I'm sure you grew up from home eating kenke, running down the stream and, playing in the dirt and getting exposed to a lot of things, infectious wise. And then, and that alone has primed your immunity and giving you exposure to different infectious and environmental factors that has enhanced your immunity. So you build an immunity every time you expose yourself to certain things. Some may be detrimental, some you can handle. And it depends on your genetic makeup. If you handle them well, it serves you well. And next time you get exposed to it, you never get sick. You understand? And that's the premise for vaccines. And that's the reason why here in the United States, they ensure everybody is vaccinated. Because that's where it also comes from. If you're vaccinated, your body recognizes it, takes care of it, and handles it. So you don't get sick away from it anymore. Now, back home, we get what they call natural or exposure in the wild. So if you can build your immunity, fine. But because of other surrounding secondary factors like, poor nutrition or poor hygiene, so those who get exposed may not be able to mount adequate response to come against the diseases that eventually claim life. So for you to have achieved and succeeded to this level, yes, you build immunity all through your life, which is a good thing. So you coming to the United States now, and then having a different lifestyle. I mean, I'm sure back home when you were there, you used to do a lot of walking. You used to get exposed to the sun, which is very protective for a lot of things. Right. For a lot of things, very protective. But here, especially when you're in the Northeast, we don't get sun for a major part of the year because of the weather, the winter that comes in. So, and again, we're constantly driving in cars, we're constantly running away from the sun. Those factors in itself, the building factors that you got, that the sun was giving to you, you don't get them here, you lose them. So also the immunity against malaria. Like when you're home, you didn't die from malaria when you were younger. A few people who could not handle it died from it. but you didn't die, so you build immunity against it. But when you come here now, and you've lived there for 10, 20 years, you lose that immunity. So when you go back home, you're almost like somebody who was born here without the immunity. So when you go back home, you have to take malaria prophylaxis. Otherwise, you get the malaria, and it can claim a life. So coming down to your kids, when a kid is born here, granted, naturally there's good food and poor, little exposure to infectious diseases and all that. So in itself, they're built up well. However, they do not build the natural immunity that you built over your entire life. But the system set it up in such a way that they get immunized with vaccines. So, and that's why in this country, you don't see anybody with polio. Polio has been eradicated here. And in a lot of countries, except, 3 countries, I think Afghanistan, Iraq, and Nigeria. Nigeria did well until 2 years ago, this year, when we now have another exposure of polio. So you don't see anybody whose leg has been disfigured from polio, because those vaccines, they do work. You barely see kids with measles or any of those kind of meningitis because they get immunized. However, the drawback is they who are here have not gotten exposed as much as you have. So because of that, their immune system that is triggered by other environmental factors is constantly looking for something to fight. But there's nothing to fight. And that's why a lot of attacking themselves. And what does that mean? That's the reason why they have a lot of what they call autoimmune diseases. Systemic lupus erythematosus, scleroderma, Sjogren's, and a lot of all those diseases, that we don't, right? But back home, because we have things like malaria, we get exposed to, diseases, we hardly suffer from all those. You understand? So that's the reason why. So under the diet again, your diet is totally different from their diet, and they're more prone to getting obesity. They are more prone to getting coronary heart disease, heart attacks. Even the risk of hypertension is higher amongst them, as compared to those of us who grew up back home. So there are advantages, and then disadvantages. So the question now is to take your advantage that you've gotten by the fact that you were born in Africa, and then enhance it by the healthy lifestyle and the good food and exercise that you do. And that really counts a lot.
Well, Doc, before you go, we have one more question before. I know your time is very, very, limited, but we have Dr. Morris Ene on the line. We'll go to him. Dr. Ene is an international scholar and professor at Tuttle Hall University. But Dr. Luya, let me ask you one question, because you said in your presentation earlier on today about travels and travel in Africa. Can you advise our listeners on that? Because in fact, when you said that, I was sitting with a friend who told me that his dad or his uncle arrived 2 days ago, and he's admitted to the same thing that you were speaking about. So he was like, wow. Can you let our listeners all over the world take that advice, please?
Yes. Travel medicine has become pretty big and profound. The reason why is, like I said in my presentation, in the last, compared to the 80s, we have more people here living here in the United States now that never lived. So,
Go ahead. No. Hello?
The world has now become a global village.
Okay.
The world has become a global. Yes, sorry. The world has become a global village. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Loud and clear. Yes.
So the world has become a global village, and a lot more people travel. But as number of people travel, so also the risk of infection, risk of carrying disease, of which one of them is the Zika virus. Zika virus is actually native to Africa, but because people moved recently, he's also migrated, also like everything else. We had the case of the Ebola. People lived in Africa, lived with it, and it wasn't an issue. However, another risk that we now have that we begin to really find is the risk of blood clots, otherwise called deep venous thrombosis. So there are diseases that genetically put you at risk. The blood clot is one of it. So if you do not have the right environment, it's like mixing up, creating the perfect food or the perfect storm, like they say here in the U.S. 1, 2 things come together, a hot wave or cold wave of air come together, heat, cold air, and then you start to storm. Same thing like that with diseases, especially when it comes to the deep venous thrombosis and blood clots. So if you live in your town, you don't travel long distances, you don't sit in one place, you've not had surgery, because you're constantly moving, the blood flow around you is constantly also moving. But if you take a long flight, especially those long flights from Ghana, from Nigeria, where it's a non-stop flight from like the Delta Air does, once you fly like that, and you sit in one place for 8, 10, 12 hours, it puts you at risk for blood clots. So the blood clots can form in the leg and then travel all the way to your lungs. You understand? So if you have the problem is most people do not know that risk. So, but what I advise most people is this: if you are of a certain age, for instance, anything above 50, and you're obese, you have hypertension, you have diabetes, you understand, you have high cholesterol, those are things that are procoagulants, meaning it puts you at risk for blood clots to form. And if you have a need to travel long distances, take the advice of your doctor. Take an aspirin. I advise most people take aspirin. It's a blood thinner, 2 days before you travel. And then all through the time you travel. And it's once a day. And then when you land, you also take the aspirin 2 days after you land. And then you can stop. And then if you're going back home, you still do the same thing. Take the aspirin 2 days before you travel, even through your travel with the transit time, and then 2 days after you get home. Because then your blood is thin enough and the risk of clot is less. Because a lot of people don't know that and they don't know their risk. They travel like that. And then before you know it, they have pain in their legs. It begins with pain in the legs. It may not, some people begin with just heaviness. If you find out one of your legs is feeling heavy and it feels a little numb, and then when you move the foot, you feel pain in your calf, go see a doctor, because that is blood clot in the leg until proven otherwise. So if you don't know the risk and you don't have diabetes, you don't have any of this, then when you get in the flight, especially a long distance flight, anything above 4 hours, get up at least one time. Walk up the aisle. Walk up, go to the bathroom, use the restroom, wash your face, but get up and move, so that the risk of blood clot is less. And if you do long distances, get up to 3-4 times. And I often tell people, if you watch a movie, it takes about 2 hours or 2.5 hours, maximum 3, for any of those movies in long flights to end. Once the movie is ended, listen, get up and walk around. Don't mind whoever is sitting on the aisle that like, oh, you're disturbing me. But guess what? Because you'd rather disturb that person than when you get home, end up in the hospital. And some deaths have happened from that. And we see it often enough. And then the risk also for those who do surgeries. And that's why when people get in the hospital and they're sick, you see them give them blood thinners in the belly. And if you can't take a blood thinner, they put compressions on your legs to squeeze your foot and your ankles constantly, so that the risk of you lying in bed for 6-7 hours every day will not form clots. We've recognized this in the medical field. It's about time we as individuals and we spread the word, spread it around your brothers, your cousins, your friends, and your colleagues, that when you do long travels, please, tell them to take those steps.
Wow. Well, fellows, countrymen, colleagues, citizens of Africa, there you heard it all from Dr. Nelson Aluya. In fact, he can be reached at his office. You can reach him at his office number if you want, whatever about medicine. 973-972-1880. 973-972-1880. And you tell him that you heard him loud and clear at Jersey Ghana Radio's Anything Africa, our weekly intellectual discourse that we touch on Anything Africa. In fact, today is dedicated to our big brother. Nigeria is 56 years young today. And Dr. Aluya, if of course, I mean, I know you know more about Nigeria and Africa because at least I was there. I listened to you initially before you delved into the medical thing. Man, you were deep into sociology and anthropology. So of course, if you have time, you may stay with us because yours was an impromptu. And we would like to thank you. Don't go back. We would like to thank you so much because we met like what, maybe 2 hours ago, and I told you this is what we do, and you said put me on. It takes us like 2 weeks to get the average African intellectual scholar or scientist or ordinary person to come, but you did not hesitate. And actually, medicine wasn't going to be a factor on our program today with Nigeria, but we met you and you said, well, I'll come because your presentation was so deep. And you know what? Medicine is not only related to Nigerians. It's the whole actually not only Africans, everybody. And we know we have listeners in South Africa because once in a while they call in the Caribbean. So this is extremely important. And also important is the traveling aspect of it. We fly non-stop and go to Africa, and sometimes. But I'm not a doctor. But I guess if you take aspirin, don't drink. Don't take aspirin and go drink because people want to drink to put them into sleep. And this is Dr. Kofiya telling you, give it. No. Our main thing is this. Is Nigeria the endangered giants of Africa, and what went wrong? By sheer population of Nigeria is of the size and its population and its wealth, Nigeria at least used to be the giant, as I may put it. Not trying to say that, but what happened is this: do you consider it the endangered giants of Africa? That is our theme for today. If you have something to add, please go ahead before we jump to our international scholar, Dr. Ene.
Right. Well, like with everything in life, even a child goes through stages from being helpless and totally dependent on somebody else to a day where you begin to, recognize the environment, sit up, feed itself, crawl, stand, and there are times you'll fall. And then even when you begin to crawl and stand and run, there are times you still stagger and fall. So it's 56 years. So what about today? It has to go through its process. And like every nation on earth, they will have to go through its process. The people themselves will have to go through its process. I mean, if you flip back 200-300 years ago, there's a story about the United States. The United States we look today and see today wasn't what it was a couple of years ago, even in the 60s here, even in the 70s. We have stories of segregation and everything else that happened over the years. But the essence is they learn from their mistakes, and we too, as Nigeria, and the biggest economy and the fastest growing population in Africa, will continue to grow. We're going to make mistakes. We'll have good leaders. We'll have bad leaders. But those are the things that eventually make us to get our experience and develop our consciousness. I mean, there's stories in this country where there were bad leaders. Even in the United States, that are clamored for things that were so evil and wrong. But then they outgrew it and came out of it. And I think Nigeria will do the same. So also with Africa. And then the essence is this. I mean, look at Shimon Peres just died. There's a story about Shimon Peres, what he's done for the state of Israel, and why Israel is what it is today. So it's a common experience. As we have left home to come here, we're coming here to learn and to go back home and give back and impact our home. And that's exactly what happened. If you take the Chinese experience, the Chinese did the same thing. They bring people here, they learn, they go back home, they fix. The Japanese did the same thing. The Koreans did the same thing. So we in not so organized form, because of other factors that affect us as a race, as being black, those things will come to learn and we'll begin to exceed them. You know, a lot of us are beginning to get more aware. Thank God for the internet. You know, you can sit here, the guy in some village in Kumasi or somewhere would know what's going on in the United States and know what's going on in China in an instant. So those are things that are exposing us and will make us better. Yes, we're going through the process of difficulty. Yes, we're going through the process of hardship because of our past mistakes. But the giant of Africa, no doubt, will be the giant of Africa because they have no choice. I mean, studies have shown, the United Nations have even shown records, that in the next 40 to 50 years, Nigeria will be the third most populous country on earth. After India, China will be Nigeria. So as that comes on, so also will be the good, and so also will be the bad. But we just pray the good will exceed the bad, and we totally believe so, you know. And that will be our story.
Well, Dr. Leah, thank you so much. We'll go to Dr. Ene. You may stay if you have some time, or you may even do what, and then you listen to Dr. Ene and people who may call, comments, and questions. Our listeners, if you have any questions in terms of medicine or medical issues, you better call now before our esteemed Dr. leaves, because he wasn't scheduled, like I said, to come and speak, but I thought the event I went, his presentation was so deep and insightful. So I said, Doc, you know, and he said, oh, yeah, okay, I'll try. And I didn't know that, because people tell me all the time that they will try, except very few people that I say you have to come, and they know I keep bothering them till you know that they come. And one is Dr. and he knows if he doesn't come on, he will not sleep, because Kofi will be bothering him all the time. He's like, yes, Dr. Ene, welcome again to Jesse Ghana Radio. You are not a new guest to Jesse Ghana Radio. So, Nigeria, first, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Kofi.
And I believe you heard what Dr. Aliyah said. Do you have any question for him before maybe he signs off? But he can listen. I mean, he can listen as long as he wants. This program.
Congratulations, Doc. Congratulations. At least, let me tell you one thing. You have actually said it all. In fact, if we end this session right here, Kofi and his program will have achieved a whole lot on 1st of October, 56th year anniversary of Nigeria's independence. So you said it all. Nigerians need patience. And I know it's not just Nigerians. Many Africans are so saddened by the situation in the so-called giant of Africa. We've gone through a whole lot. Nigerians are very impatient, but they are very resilient people. We've gone through a whole lot: civil war, crisis, it's still ongoing, leadership, corruption, you can name it. I believe it's work in progress. We will get there. But the fact is, we just can't sit down and wait to get there. Nigerians don't even count 56. they count over 100 since 1914, which where we have the amalgamation of the northern protectorates and southern protectorates. So I lived through the war. I lived through the military regimes. I lived through 4 republics from 1960 to today. We've done a whole lot in Nigeria, and we still have a whole lot to do. So I will take the congratulations, but I'll take it with a heavy heart because we could have done a whole lot better. We could have.
True.
At this point, Nigerians should be able to supply to its citizens just basic amenities, such as power. If Nigerians have power 24 hours a day, the rest would be so easy. Nigerians are very, very resourceful in agriculture, in trade, in education, you name it. You name it. So that's why I was telling someone last time that there's a common saying in Nigeria. They said we need the Rollins and that will solve all our problems. No. Such things will not solve our problems. Democracy is very good. What we have now is not the best. What we have in the United States is not the best, but it is work in progress. So today is going to be a day of celebration that Nigeria has been able to keep it together for the past 100 years plus. And the future looks good. Like you said very well, information is power. With the internet, with solar power, with alternative source of energy, with agriculture being advanced in such a way that people can feed very well. Because the important thing is this: if people don't feed, they cannot think of the next day. What they think of is the next meal. The last time I was in Nigeria, somebody has to go out to buy stuff for breakfast. In the afternoon, somebody goes to the market to buy something for lunch. And in the evening, the same process is repeated because you cannot store food. There is no power, electric power, to keep the food in the fridge. So such basic things are stuff that Nigerians have to do. At some point, Nigeria can afford to have every person go through high school education without paying for it. If you have that, it will take off a whole lot of problems that will move Nigeria to the next stage. I'm happy you mentioned Korea, China, even Singapore, okay?
Right.
Even Brazil. We will get there. So my fellow countrymen should have patience and work hard. Nobody is a saint. We have all sinned along the process. We can do better. And on that note, I wish us all the best. Not just Nigerians, but entire Africa, Africans who would like to have that pride that the giant of Africa has risen once more to give us such things as the Festival of Arts, host it.
Correct.
Give us great cities, give us great coverage, be able to sit in the United Nations Security Council and address African problems. Because there is what you call role model. If Nigeria gives us that role model, I'm sure that all other Africans, all ECOWAS countries will follow suit. Thank you very much.
You are listening to Jesse Ghana Radio. Yes, Dr. Nelson, you wanted to say something? Go ahead, please.
No, I mean, he basically summarized it all, in all its completion. There's no doubt there's a whole lot to do. There's a whole lot to achieve. We should have done more. We could do more. But I think at this stage of our existence, there's no excuse for the fact that we're only 56 years old. We could do more. But objective reflection. I mean, if you flip back, comparing us to India and some of all these other countries, they've been a lot more established than we have. And not just that, the consciousness of the global system do not recognize us who are highly pigmented. And I'm using a very political term for those who will understand that. do not recognize those who are highly pigmented as equals on a playing level of discourse. And what does that mean? As an individual, you who was a professor in New York they will give you regard. They will respect you. But when you put a collection of black people or Africans together as a whole, there's no respect. And that is one of the key factors that's playing into the underdevelopment that we have as a whole in Africa. And extending even to our other brothers in diaspora, those who came earlier before us. So we'll begin to come out of our shells, we'll begin to come out of our cocoons, we'll begin to know things, and knowing the narrative and how we are described. And not just that, learning to tell our story as it is our story, not the story that was written for us. You understand? Because recently they opened up the Museum of African American Heritage in New York. How many Africans or how many African Americans even live here know that was opened? It was a big issue. Most people didn't care. Most people did not know. But you see, as people begin to come into this consciousness, things will get better. And there's no doubt we will get there, like you said. Thank you.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know it will be how we know. Every road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get. Because here you remember of the CBC, yes, Nigeria will get there, Africa will get there. A population of 167 million, covering an area of 923,768 square meters, with major languages, English, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and so many other minor languages. Religion is basically Islam, Christianity, and indigenous, and the currency of Nigeria, Naira. One time, almighty Naira. One time, almighty Naira. Events leading to this program, as usual, I just did a little bit of, digging a little bit, and I found out that I think one of the airlines in the Middle East wouldn't accept people who would purchase tickets in Nigeria. Touched me. It touched my heart. Because the Naira used to be so powerful and heavy. Those days, those good old days, when Nigeria was Africa's US, when the West African hub and beyond, people would just gravitate to Nigeria to go get a piece of the cake, the Nigerian cake, the sweet Nigerian cake, and the icing on it. One time, almighty Naira. What gave? What happened? We know what President Buhari has been doing. He may have his faults, yes. We all do. He's trying to rein in corruption and trying to receive perceived stolen money and actually stolen money. But the Naira, where are the economists and people who know? That is one area that I'm completely ignorant. What happened to the Naira? Who can help us here?
I think if I have to add to that, I think it has to do with the whole lot of distrust. Because granted, people stole money, granted the economy fell, but if you have a situation where if you have a home where you invite people and tell them, listen, you are comfortable here, you can come, you can trade, you can live here, you can do well, and entice other people to come in, and they see that they can do well, then other people will come. But if you create an atmosphere of distrust, where people are now viewed as all criminals, and they all steal money. Or, I mean, they often say, give a dog a bad name, you know how to kill it. If you create that environment and that situation, guess what? Nobody will want to invest in a place where you can't pull your money in or pull your money out. And that is a big issue that's happened within a short time. In as much as, you know, people stole money, encourage them, fine. They stole money, put those in jail who needs to be in jail, put them in jail. Encourage those you can't put in jail, find ways to have them bring back their money. I mean, reach out to all this. I mean, the money is not in space, it's in some people's country, some people's pocket. Reach out to those countries and force or make them release the money. Okay, the oil fell. Fine. Well, the problem is we never diversified when we needed to. This is a wake-up call now, and we have no choice but to learn to diversify. So we will. But the rapid fall of the Naira and all that's going on is because a lot of people who do not trust the environment that it is right now pulled away their money. I mean, the reports of Chase Bank doing a major issue like that, you know, and all that big conglomerates. So when you pull money out of the system, obviously the exchange rate and all these things it will fall. I mean, do you have to lose an eye in order to see better? Fine. I guess maybe that's what's happening. We have to lose an eye now, so we begin to see better. But, you know, like I said, we will learn from our lessons, and we will get better.
We will get better. That is a very positive, you know, rendering. You know, we never lose hope. We will get better. We fall and rise. We fall and rise. He who fights and rides away lives to fight another day. He then riding on. Yes. So from Osibisa to Bosmali, Kofi, even here. You are listening to Jazzy Ghana Radio. Anything Africa. Today is Nigeria's Day. And I think I heard there is a parade in Manhattan. There was or there is today. Dr. Knight and Dr. Nelson, did you hear something about it?
Yes, actually, last night I met the parade marshal, who I'm happy to announce is
Ugo.
our good friend Ugo Nwokoro, who is the deputy mayor of Newark, New Jersey. He's going to be the parade marshal. He should have been in this program. But,
he did, in fact.
Yeah. I saw him last night. He apologized because he's going to also get an award at the United Nations.
Wow.
And he will also be the parade marshal.
Marshal.
Yes. Yeah, so they're having an event in New York, and that's been growing. I give them kudos. It's not been easy, but they've been doing it now for quite a number of years. And I've told my friends we should also plan to do that in New Jersey. And I'm sure that's going to be a good thing. You know, it's not just the economy. There's a kind of feel-good that comes with celebrating yourself. It makes people want to invest in that economy, not just in the economy, but invest in the people. The amount of money we send home from here, from Europe, from Asia, has gone a long way to help in sustaining what has been rightly described as a failing economy. Nigerian economy is not failing because of oil. No. Oil is not a problem. The problem is managing the oil. If you read the president's speech today, you will see something that will make you want to shed tears. That half of the money realized from selling oil is used to import refined oil. Right. Do you believe that? It's used to import oil. If during the last regime, they have what they call oil subsidy, which is quite a big ripoff. And this administration has stopped it. Another thing is the ban on importing generators. There's a friend of ours here, Professor Nnachi, MIT, formerly Pittsburgh, the professor of the robotics, who was the power minister. And I told him, listen, the day we stop the importation of generators, there will be steady supply of power in Nigeria. Because as long as anybody can afford to import from China these toy generators, one for your fridge, for a deep freezer, one for the house, one for the generator. It's crazy. It's amazing that these things happened. You see, so going back to power supply, some companies relocated to Ghana because they can no longer afford to buy diesel for generators. You see that? So these are some of the problems that are plaguing Nigeria's economy. Yes, the price of oil could go down or go up, but how do you manage the much that you get? That is the problem. But the doc said, all these people who have their money outside the country, they would like to have it in the country. Don't you think Americans would like to have their money in Switzerland or in Britain? But when the dollar is stronger, what is the incentive? Except if you want to dodge paying taxes, of course. But apart from that, most people would like to keep their money in dollars. And that's why the economy of this country is as strong as it is today. So Nigeria could learn from that. It is not just the stealing. Yes, corruption is a problem. But also to go into something else that you may want to point out maybe later, Nigeria has to be restructured. The way Nigeria is now with religion and regional and zones and everything is not making for development. Any country cannot develop by carrying everybody along. At some point, some areas may have to move a little bit further. The only state in Nigeria today that could sustain itself is Lagos State. And it's not because of oil. Right. Lagos has infrastructure. It has industries. It has a tax base. It can pay its workers without getting a dime from the federal government. And speaking of that, Nigeria's federal government is the strongest I've seen in any free world. The Abuja is too strong. If we want to solve Nigerian problems from that perspective, we have to go back to Ghana. And I wonder what I'm talking about. There's a place called Aburi. I don't know how you call it in Ghana, but Nigeria would say Aburi. But the Nigerians have a bad way of mispronouncing Ghana names, even calling Ghanaians Ghanaians. Okay? That's true. So a place we call Aburi. In 1967, Ojukwu Gowon and some other governors sat down with General Ankara and figured out a sort of confederation that would be a way to get Nigeria out of the funk of regional and religious differences. Because politicians use those differences to divide the people. If we have a region that is doing so well, others will tend to copy it and do well. The regions are not all well endowed. You have oil in the Delta area. You have massive land for agriculture in the north. So this day, we still have problem with herdsmen. I think I heard they have it in Ghana too. People in 2016 still open road grazing cattle from Chad, from Niger, down to Port Harcourt. That is insanity. It's perfected. Insanity perfected. You cannot have your cows eat up people's farm because those guys are going to sell the food product to be able to buy your meat. We can have ranches, reserve grazing grounds. So these are the issues that I think those working with Buhari, because he cannot do it alone, we have to invest in such things. The bag of rice have increased from 6,000 naira to almost 30,000 naira in 1 year. Tomatoes, common tomatoes. So these are some of the issues that this current government could help to redirect the people to doing something, as the doc called it, diversifying the economy. And before you know it, within 5 years, Nigeria will get out of the present funk. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And we are talking about Nigeria. We are discussing Nigeria and the status of Nigeria as an Indian giant of Africa. You know what? Before we continue, I'd just like to put the record straight. The Honorable Ugo Nwakoro, I hope I got the name right, was invited, like Dr. Ene, you said, he was invited to, he's my buddy to this program, but he told me that he has been honored to be the marshal, Orange Marshal today in New York, so he couldn't, and he will make it up. And you confirmed that also. I mean, I had no reason that he was just giving me a flimsy excuse, I know. I just said it because I am so proud of the pride of Nigerians, irrespective. I am so proud of the pride of Nigerians. Trust me, as Dr. Nas, you know, of course I'm a Ghanaian, as you know, but it will take a haluva of maybe a crane to pull Ghanaians, especially our professionals, to go and march, not demonstrate, march on their Independence Day in Manhattan. Our doctors, our lawyers, Ghanaians, you think I am lying? You call and tell me. Nigerians are so proud. And I was telling one of my friends that you are going to see very few Nigerians in suits over there today. They will be in their native costume. And that's the pride of Nigerians. They are, and I'm so proud of them. And whatever happens in Nigeria, does not only necessarily affect the country Nigeria, it has ripple effect on West Africa regional base and beyond. By its sheer size, whatever happens to Nigeria has a profound influence in the countries of West Africa. In 2008, January, oil traded at $100 a barrel. 2008 January. And we know what has been happening. Dr. Ness said it. He said the problem is not the oil itself, but the management or the mismanagement of it. And you think it's unique to Nigeria? Go to Ghana, go to Gabon, and you see. So the problem of mismanagement is systemic throughout the region. How are we able to utilize our natural resources to the benefit of the people without individuals pocketing or ripping off the people and putting money in external banks and investment? Do we have a way to stem it? Do we have a way to minimize it? We're not going to eliminate corruption outright. I don't believe that. Outright elimination, maybe in utopian time. But there is a way to minimize it a lot. If our leaders have the temperament, if our leaders first, the fish not from the head, the leader must be clean enough to be able to call the court very well and say, no, you are not going to rip the system off. You are not going to rip the resources of the nation off. You are going to account for everything that you did. Let me run this thing in now. Earlier this week, there is a powerful medicine man, which we call, Europeans call it fetish, or juju man in Ghana. It's called Kweku Bonsam. He said something, it's not funny though. He said, for any government in Ghana to stem up corruption, what the government should do is, once you come to power, you gather all your ministers and let them swear fetish against corruption. And he was so sure that once they swore that oath of fetish against corruption, that if you steal money, your wife is going to die, your husband is going to die, your child and all this and all that, they will be scared to help to steal the money. And I said, this is a very good proposition. And he was saying, they're not afraid, they're not scared about the Quran and the Bible, because they've been swearing on it all the time when they take oath of office, and they do the same thing. So bring them, let them swear. And I said, well, that is a very good thing, but maybe whoever is elected, the president might have to be running all the ministries himself or herself, because I don't think you will get a minister who will go back before a fetish and said, if I steal money, make this God punish my child or my wife or my mother or my father. So I think it's a problem of mismanagement. The wealth of the nation. And Dr. Anna, I agree with you totally. Let's go quickly into contributions of the diaspora Nigerians. Dr. Anna just mentioned about the money that is sent home, remittances. I think it's all over, and maybe even basically any developing nation. At one time, the remittance from government sources Ghanaians do was, I think, only second to cocoa. At one time during President Kufuor's time. I don't know about now, which means a lot. And even that, they gave the figures based on official transfers or remittances only. They could not factor into account the money that we give to our friends and family. Oh, can you take this to my uncle, my wife, my husband, my brother, which cannot be traced through official sources like a bank. And that is also a huge amount, I can imagine. So if they had been able to factor that in, trust me, I believe that the remittances could have even gone higher in terms of money for the government. But there is a problem, at least in Ghana. Ghanaians in diaspora are not easily and readily embraced. Government give lip services and they even open diasporan affairs and all that. They get roadblocks. It's unbelievable. And I think Dr. Nelson, you said it. One of the guest speakers who has established an organization that sends stuff from medical supplies to clothes to books and all this free of charge to Ghana. I believe you heard what he said. Roadblocks in clearing the goods at the ports. I want to know, because we are talking about Nigeria, do Nigerians in the diaspora, or rather, are they receptive by the government home in terms of their participation? Because countries like India, Malaysia, Singapore have been able to shape their destiny to some extent by the involvement of their diaspora. What is the stand of Nigeria on that in terms of the Nigerian diaspora? Are they embraced?
Yes, Sophia, I would say yes, they are embraced. But
okay. So you're
as in everything, more should be done. Let me tell you this. Most states in Nigeria now have a special advisor, if not a commissioner, on diaspora affairs. The problem is those people there do not always reach out to us. But let me tell you the impact of Nigerians in diaspora. Apart from the money we remit to Nigeria, which is quite substantial, and we are just counting just those that went through Western Union and all these money transfers. The ones that people take home when they go, the ones they give people, the ones they remit, having somebody here change it for them and keep the naira in Nigeria is not even counted. So we have a big impact. Another impact that nobody looks at. Look at the African markets. We buy our egusi, our palm oil, even bitter leaves from these African markets. Gari and the rest of them. Yams. That is foreign currency going into the country. A lot of money comes from food. Okay? Fish. Other products. Even Fanta is imported from Nigeria. Some people buy them here, Nigerian diaspora. Nigerian government recognizes this, the importance of diaspora people, students, that it has kept the dual citizenship for all Nigerians living abroad. All Nigerians born to Nigerian parents. Every child born to Nigerian parents abroad gets a Nigerian passport on demand. Okay? So that is one good thing. Actually, Buhari now has an advisor on diaspora affairs. And let me tell you one thing again that nobody knows about. Most people don't know about. Most of the leaders, governors, legislators, senators in Nigeria, many of them are Nigerian Americans, including Buhari.
Wow.
Buhari went to school in Philadelphia, did his master's in Philadelphia, military school in Philadelphia. Okay? So they know the importance of living abroad. Many of them traveled to this country. Many of them schooled here. So, diaspora citizens and Nigerians in diaspora are very much involved in Nigerian affairs. In fact, I have found out that it is very detrimental to us living here by the energy that we input into Nigerian affairs. If we had put half of that in American politics, believe me, we would have had somebody in Congress by now. Take Newark, for example.
I believe you. Yes.
Take Newark. It just took one regime, Ras Baraka, supporting him, getting involved to have the deputy mayor and have people in very, very influential positions, including the judge. Okay? So we have to look back home, at the same time realize that we also live here. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. We also live here and we have a stake here. And when we have that stake, we could impact Africa more, not just Nigeria. The Jewish people in America are extremely powerful, and that's why U.S. supports Israel, not because it likes Israel, but because there are Jews here who have made it a point of duty to make Israel their forte. But in doing that, they also have a stake in the American system.
Yes.
So that is one place we have to go. If we have somebody now, if we want somebody now to talk to Obama directly, who do we go to? That's the problem. Many other people have such contacts, and that's going to help us a whole lot in telling our leaders, listen, if you don't do the right thing, we are going to hold you responsible.
Yes.
People do not stop stealing because stealing is bad. No. There are probably more criminals in New York than in the whole of Nigeria. In fact, there are more murders in New York or in Chicago a year than the entire Nigeria.
Wow.
Even with Boko Haram and the Avengers. Yes. Look at the statistics. The reason why people do not steal that much is because the possibility of getting you accounted for, taking you to court, jailing you, is very, very high. So our law and order establishment needs a lot of work. Just yesterday, the National Judiciary Commission had to fire the Chief Justice of a state because of corruption.
Yes, I read about it. Yes.
Good. That is progress. If somebody else becomes the new chief judge, he will have to bite his tongue before he accepts that bribe again. So, going back to what we said at the beginning, it is work in progress. But we have to keep up, moving up. You talked about the almighty Naira. We didn't have to come this far. Half a Naira was getting you $1. Today it's 480. That's a sin. So the diaspora, it's not just about remitting money. It is also about getting influence in Britain, in Germany, in Poland, in Russia. There are 4 Nigerians in the British House of Parliament today. In fact, the guy who was going to be the leader of the Labour Party, Chuka Umunna, called the Obama of Europe, he's a Nigerian. His father is a Nigerian. Just like we have Boateng.
Yes.
In the 80s. Yes. Boateng.
Yes.
So we need to have that influence outside to impact what is going on, not just in Nigeria, in Ghana, but in entire Africa. Of course, Liberia, we've seen how far it goes. U.S. kind of covers it like its own. So the diaspora citizens have a role to play in the development of Africa. They said a person that is well-traveled is wiser than the gray-haired man who has never left the village. And it's true. But now, like Doc said, with the internet, that gray-haired man will know as much as the guy who is in Washington, D.C., and that is progress. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, Dr. NF, for your analysis, and Dr. Nelson. The lines are open now, 973-409-6422 for your comments and questions. We have Dr. Maurice Ene, who is an international scholar at Seton Hall University in South Orange Avenue. He's also an author. And Dr. Nelson Aluya, who is a medical doctor and assistant professor of medicine, Division of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics at the State University of New Jersey, Newark, where we broadcast from Jersey, Ghana, Radio, Anything Africa. And before we'll go to Dr. Aluya, but you know what, Doctor, and then you said some things about Nigeria diaspora and everything. It made me sad, and it's also funny. And I think Ghanaians should learn, or maybe the Ghana government should learn. And I'm proud. Do you know, in Ghana, if you hold dual citizenship, you cannot go to Parliament?
Wow.
I'm not joking. Do you know, in Ghana, if you hold a dual citizen, you cannot go to Ghana's Parliament, even though they have a dual citizen rule. And as we speak now, there is a group of Ghanaians here in New York and the tri-state area, led by one Dr. Kofi Boateng, or his otherwise known as Mr. Roper, who have taken the Ghanaian government to court. The case is in the Supreme Court. Their beef is that they, as Ghanaians outside Ghana, want to vote, take part in any election. Roper, which is a legislation that allows Ghanaians outside Ghana to vote, was passed over 10 years ago. The law has been passed, but it has never been implemented. So Ghanaians outside Ghana, you cannot vote. It doesn't matter how much money you take to your father, uncle base. It doesn't matter how much involved you are. You just cannot vote. And besides the point, once again, if you hold dual citizenship, you cannot go to Ghana, to Parliament. And there are some other positions that you just cannot hold in Ghana because we hold a dual citizen. Some of our leaders, some of our scholars, some of our professionals have been fighting the government, for a while to allow this dual. Nigerian constitution, of course, I'm not an attorney, but there's something simple on that side. Once born a Nigerian, always a Nigerian. It's just as simple as that. But when it comes to Ghana, we have a long way to go, and we have to learn from our cousins, Nigerians. You cannot, and is it not a shame even for people to know? No government, not from President Kufuor's time, the law was passed, and that was about it. And now a group of Ghanaians said, no, we are not going to allow that. We will take them to court. And of course, obviously, they cannot, because I don't think that the case is in a state that a rule can be taken upon it now. So Ghanaians outside Ghana cannot vote in this pending election. And we don't know how the Supreme Court will rule. So that is Ghana there for you, Dr. Nelson, and then we have a problem. We have a problem, and the reason is this. I believe is very parochial. The political parties who should implement, at least the electoral commission should implement that thing. They have their own reasons, and they will not implement it. So we don't know. So you see here now, the involvement of Ghanaians in affairs of Ghana is limited. Oh. Like you said, look at where President Buhari is. It's not. You just can't. You can't even go to Parliament. How else are you going to be president of Ghana if you go? You have to renounce. In fact, a personal friend of mine who was a professor at LaGuardia Community College is in Ghana now. He had to renounce his American citizenship in the American embassy in Ghana before he could enter Parliament. And you know what happened? His own party revealed his secret, if it's a secret, because they were contesting in the primary, and his own party opponent in the primary found out that he had a dual citizen, American citizenship also as well. And he brought it up. And he had no choice but to go to the American embassy to renounce it. So we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. Now, let's go to the tormentors, if I may call them that. Boko Haram. And Dr. Well, I won't mention it. You and I will fall into a lawmaker's office about Boko Haram and all this. But maybe if you are let's go to Dr. Nelson actually. Dr. Nelson, what do we do with Boko Haram? How do we? What do we do with them?
Well, before I even let me touch a little bit on what Dr. Eme said on the diaspora. On our end, in fact, there's a portion of the Bible that says, the kingdom of God suffereth violent, and violent men that shall take it by force. I think it has come to a spot where we'll have to make conscious efforts into taking affairs of what's going on in Nigeria and the whole of Africa, especially those who are outside, take stringent steps. I'm not saying, take up arms or whatever. There's so many ways to kill a rat. What he mentioned is profoundly true. People who are here usually see home and want to do things back home. A few people do not want to get into politics. Those who want to get into politics rather do politics back home, either because they feel they can go home and steal money and make it rich and make it better for them. But once you begin to make it less palatable for them to steal money, a lot of people will not do that. And like you said, if we put that emphasis or the effort of going back home to do politics and put it here, we'll achieve a whole lot. And it's a fact. And it's so profoundly true. So profoundly true. Because not until then can we be able to influence the decisions and the things that they do back home in Nigeria, in Africa. You give the example of Israel doing it, and I think we should. But in another flip side of that, we need to have a common front, because there's a whole lot of dichotomy and distrust and fighting and infighting amongst ourselves here. Taking from the churches who drag themselves to court, to local community centers who fight themselves and drag themselves to court every time. We do not have a common front. If we say, oh, you know what, let's go meet the mayor. Oh, it has to be one tribe or the other tribe that will do it. And everybody wants to pursue their own agenda at any point in time. And if you have that, it's so difficult to come up with a common front, a common goal, and common ideology for betterment of all. But with time, I hope we understand and learn that. And then back home, those people who come home in diaspora, I know a lot of times, I do medical mission to Jamaica. Have I been able to do any in Nigeria? Not really, because of fear. I mean, in the South, the issue of kidnapping and all that, and armed robbery. And then in the North, there's Boko Haram, like you said, which we'll come to. So it's so difficult, and some people say, oh, don't come home. Because if you do, and we've had issues of people who do home, whose parents have now been kidnapped because they went home to help out and they thought they have money. So all of those things are things that dissuade people from doing that much back home. And then if you go home as a professional, if I go home as a professional to say, you know what, let me go into the Department of Medicine, University of Lagos, they will make it so absolutely difficult for me to be able to excel or do well. Because they feel I'm going to come to change the status quo. I'm going to put in, in a common, lingua franca in Nigeria. I'm going to put Sansa in their gari. You understand? So it's a two-pronged way. It's a two-pronged thing. And, those are things that we need to face and find ways to identify and address those issues. Now, coming to Boko Haram, it's a hydra of multiple heads. But the main trunk of Boko Haram has to be dealt with. And unfortunately, I also say this, and I hope people get to understand. And when I talk to, because I'm from the southern part of Nigeria, and when I talk to the southerners, and they're like, oh, well, the past administration, forget what happened and all the stealing and all that. They say, oh, what did he do for his people? What did he do? He spent money in the northerners, building schools, doing that for them. And what did they do for him? Because they hate him. He wanted to gather their votes and all that. No, not just that. Because, you see, the gentleman was smart enough to realize that not until you address the issue of Al-Majiri. Al-Majiri, it's an educational system where people, those in Ghana, I don't know if they have it in Ghana, where kids are taken from one region into another region for training on Islamic studies. And these kids leave home under an imam who supposedly will train them. You have 10, 20, 40, 50 of them who he can barely feed or have control over. So they're pushed out on the streets to go beg for food, beg for money, bring back home to help sustain, even the imam's family. And these kids go around the streets and they're destitute. And it's an issue. And these kids grow up every single day. I mean, I schooled in the north. I saw them. Some of them from kids grew up into teenagers, into adults. And what became of those guys? No education, because it's a taboo that Western education is evil, so they don't go there. And they have not been equipped for the social structure that's evolving consistently in the environment that we live in. So what are they? They are simple, easy, I use the word hanging apples for those who want to achieve political and religious aim to cause havoc. So unless we begin to identify those things, hold those people responsible, those who are the imams or whatever, who train these kids, who have responsibility for them, hold them responsible and accountable to make sure that not just that you can have your religious treating, you can have your Islamic training, But these kids should have conventional knowledge and conventional training and should go to school. Not until we do that. They are easy targets of these minds. They can be manipulated to cause havoc. And that's why every time when you have a religious head who comes and says, you know what, let's go fight. These are the people they use. They don't use children of professors. They don't use children of bankers. They really don't. And these are kids that they use often.
Yeah, hello, Doc.
Yes.
Yeah, hello?
Let
I can
me
hear you.
let me pause you. Let me pause you here and quickly introduce two people into the program. And Dr. Andrew Badu, your buddy, who invited you to their function today, and then we have Dr. George Gompu, who is originally from Liberia, and he was a former deputy finance minister in Liberia from 2008 to 2011, and is currently a professor of economics at Ramapo College of New Jersey. Welcome, both of you, Dr. Badu and Dr. Gonpu. But we have Dr. Nelson on who had the mic, so we'll let him finish. But hang in tight, please don't go. We will just come to you, Dr. Badu and Dr. Gonpu. So, Dr. Nelson, please go ahead.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Those are some of the issues. Like I said, it's a hydra, multiple heads, but there's a whole root trunk. And this whole system began as the Catholics did, where they built schools and everything else. It's a system called Midrasis, and it extends all the way from Saudi Arabia, where they sent out people who were trained as imams or scholars, train them in religious studies in Saudi Arabia, send them out to different parts of the world to help, enlighten people on Islamic notions and Islamic studies. It was a great idea. It was sustained. But after a while, the money was cut off. So they had to sustain themselves. And that's exactly what has happened in our communities, especially in the north. So when you talk about Boko Haram, that needs to be addressed first. And because those kids, when you go send them to school, so they are exceptionally smart kids with them there. You can have engineers, doctors, lawyers, and if those who don't go to university, let them learn trade. I mean, a guy who's gone to work and comes back exhausted after a good day's job and knows he's coming home at the end to get paid, will hardly have enough time or energy to go outside and start throwing stones and sticks at another person because they feel they don't belong to the same, religious sect. So that's one of the issues that needs to be addressed with Boko Haram. And then, otherwise, for creating jobs, that's one. And then educating the people on the vials and ills of Boko Haram activities. But then creating awareness and educating them. You only educate somebody who has a mind open enough to receive it. Otherwise, it's hard. And when somebody who feels there's nothing for him to live for, he's looked around him. He's grown all his life, from childhood to age 21. Nobody's ever shown him love. Nobody's ever shown him care. He has no hope of or idea of where his life is going. And he sees around. With the internet now, he sees what's happening in other places. He sees even the imam's son who went to college and went to university and is going abroad. There's an innate ache and pain and despondent that would need to be challenged in one way or the other. I mean, young kids or young men have a lot of energy, and you need to let them channel this energy to places. America has done it, and that's why you have great minds like who eventually became Michael Jackson and Usher, and then those who turn out to be Mark Zuckerberg and all these people. They channel their minds and energy into good things because you create those channels for them to do that. And I think by the time we begin to do that, we'll see a huge difference. And then the Boko Haram, issue, we wither down.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nelson. And you know what? We don't do this, but what we're going to just do now, because Dr. Gompu is on the line, and Dr. Badu has signaled he needs to leave. Yes, he will soon leave. But Dr. Badu, we have Dr. Nelson that you invited him to your event. We are not going to talk about you didn't call him for Nigeria and all this, but one simple question: what is the next event for GAMA? GAMA stands for Ghanaian Association of Medical Aid, and what they do is they go into the communities. Yes, they go into the communities and organize these seminars, functions, and symposium for the African community. So when is your next community? And then that's all. You can hang up. You just tell us, because your event today was so good that we think people should know and then patronize. When is your next event? And that's it. Yes.
Mr. Ayim, thank you very much for the opportunity to come onto your radio show. Our event today was a success, and we had the pleasure of having Dr. Aluya Nelson on our guest speakers. Our next event is going to be at the Presbyterian Church of Ghana in Orange. We're doing a health symposium for the men's group, and that's what we're going to be at. This is supposed to be in November. The exact date I don't have at hand at this moment, but I could get it to you at a later date. And it's open to the public, not just to the church members. Open to everybody who's willing to come and listen.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to Dr. Gompu, but we have Dr. Oji also on there. So we'll just go to Dr. Badu. Thanks so much. If you want to stay and listen, fine. Otherwise, you are at liberty. You are done. You had a successful event today. We do that for the community and non-profit organizations that want to serve the African community, and GAMA is one of them. Dr. Gompu, sorry for holding you on, letting you hold on for a while. We'll do with you and then go to Dr. Efem. Dr. Gompu is a former Deputy Finance Minister from Liberia and currently a professor at Ramapo College in New York. Today is Nigeria's birthday, Independence Day, 56th anniversary, and our theme is this: Nigeria, endangered giants of Africa. What went wrong? Did you think something went wrong? You look at the Naira, you look at development in Nigeria and the surrounding areas of West Africa. Do you think Nigeria still holds its status as the giants of Africa?
Thank you so much, Kofi, for letting me come up on your show. First, let me congratulate my Nigerian brothers and sisters on their 55th independence. And I think that this day is significant in that it is a good time to reflect on where the nation has been and where it is heading. And I think your topic is also timely. Clearly, when you look at the amount of natural resources that Nigeria has, the position of Nigeria as one of the major exporter of petroleum in the world, a product that global industries depend on. When you look at the population size of Nigeria, and when you look at the role that Nigeria has played in international affairs, especially in ECOWAS, when it comes to building peace in the region, Nigeria plays a significant role in bringing the war in Liberia and Sierra Leone to an end. So I would accept the fact that Nigeria is still a giant, although it has more to do to fully realize its potential. But those fundamentals point to the fact that the country is a giant in Africa, and it could be a major giant globally. With respect to the Naira, I think the changes that people have experienced in terms of the depreciation in Naira can be explained in terms of changes in the country's monetary policy. because the value of the currency is a function of so many variables, particularly what is referred to as the trade position. So when the country runs a trade deficit where you are importing more than you are exporting in terms of value, it means that you would end up owing more money to the rest of the world than they're giving you. So in most cases, when you try to stabilize the currency or keep the exchange rate fixed, like Nigeria tried to do in the past in terms of keeping the naira peg at a particular value, it means that the central bank has to support that currency at that level, which means that when there is a gap between the value of what you are exporting and the value of what you are importing, you have to find a way to provide the foreign currency needed to support your currency in order to keep it stable. But what has happened in recent times is that since Buhari came in, and clearly he's been very visionary in attacking some of the ills, especially in the area of corruption. Since he came in, so many policies have been under review. And I think monetary policy has been one of them. And it appears like the country has decided to let the currency float, which means that the central bank is taking a position now of saying, well, if there is a gap, we are not going to be putting forward more and more of our foreign exchange in order to support that gap. Because especially what's happened to the price of oil, with decline in the price of oil, if the central bank should continue to try to support the naira and keep the naira stable at previous level, what will happen is that eventually, in a very short space of time, the central bank will run out of international currency, which is the dollar. And when that happens, that can lead to a collapse of the economy. So I think the decline in the naira is a monetary policy strategy that the central bank and the government as a whole will be pursuing in order to help rebalance the Nigerian economy.
Well, thank you, Dr. Goku, who is a professor at Ramapo College, economics professor for that matter. You are listening to Jazzy Ghana Radio, Anything Africa, our weekly intellectual discourse with our theme today, Nigeria, 56 years. Is Nigeria still the giants of Africa? Dr. FM, welcome to your own Jazzy Ghana Radio, Anything Africa.
Thank you, Kofi. Kofi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. You?
I just asked because I know you're doing great. I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk again. I know that I've been on this radio program. Don't know if it was at the beginning, but I know when Dr. Akono invited me and I met you.
Yes.
It has been very good, and I'm happy it's going on stronger every time. Let me take this opportunity, like the earlier speakers have done, to congratulate my country, Nigeria, on its 56th independence anniversary. It's a great thing. Nigeria has achieved a lot, and a lot needs to be accomplished. And particularly, I'm very impressed by the performances of your guests today, Dr. Aliyah and Dr. Ene. If you remember, the first time I met you, Kofi, we were talking about African intellectuals to be, invited to this program, and I told you I've been reading a lot of things about a certain Nigerian Dr. Ene, M-O-N-E. That if that guy can be reached, he might be a very good material to support this program. And you told me you know him, that he's your party guy, that he's already part of the program. So I am very, very happy today to listen to Dr. Ene for the first time. I've read a lot about his, intellectual inputs in, different social, environments and situations, his articles, his publications, and Dr. Ene, I'm really happy to be listening to you today, and it's a pleasure to listen to you. Thank you. And Dr. Aliyu has, I think, all the expertise like to explain, so it's also a pleasure to listen to him.
My pleasure.
Thank you. This program has done a lot to encourage me, even in my writing, in my research, in my teaching here in New York. And I will congratulate you, Kofi, one more time, you and Professor Akono, who is not there today.
Thank you.
Talking about problems of Nigeria, Nigeria has problems like many other nations. And your speakers have said it all. In fact, even if this program ends without anybody calling in to ask questions, Dr.
We do have, I think, a call out after you finish 7964, but you finish yours.
Okay. So they have posed the questions, and they have also answered a lot of the questions. So it was good. We have little time left for callers, and I will be very brief in my comments. Now, the problems Nigeria faces today as a nation are problems that most nations, if not all the nations in the world, have faced or are still facing. We have corruption, we have election riggings, we have terrorism, which is a worldwide phenomenon right now. We have unemployment, we have everything. But I will not go into a lot of the high-class problems of Nigeria. I will go a little bit down regarding certain policies that are unimplemented or badly implemented. A nation is not great because of the development in terms of structures, big names and big buildings, but sometimes the lifestyle, the living standard of the citizens, of people who inhabit the territory called a country. We lack certain social benefits. Now, people go into corruption. Corruption is a problem, but it is a problem caused by something. It is caused mostly because people are trying to make as much money as they could afford at the time they are in position of power or in control of money or money-making ventures. So they try to put the money together. I remember a discussion I had with some policemen, when I was teaching in Nigeria. I had quite a lot of them, from recruits to commissioners. I mean, they were coming to study law in the evening. And I talked with some of these officers sometime. I said, why is it that the Nigeria police is always associated with bribery and corruption and extortion and killing people because of money? Now, one of the things they told me was that the pay is very low, the salary they take home. They don't have any security that when they retire, they will be able to meet the needs of their families and communities. So it is the money they get now that they are able to build homes, they are able to sustain themselves when they retire. These are some of the things. And somebody in Nigeria has been sitting on money on pension money meant for Nigerians who have served this country very creditably. So in the end, they retire, they have no money. So these are some of the problems. Now, there's no social security system. People work all their lives. By the time they are like 60 or 70 years old, they retire, they have nothing to fall back to in terms of income to sustain the old age. And maybe those who started having children very late to train their children in school. So these are some of the policies that Nigeria, I taught law in Nigeria for nearly 10 years. And my research, even in the United States, has focused to some extent on Nigeria and the system. And I know that Nigeria has good laws in the books that are not implemented. There are also areas where good initiatives have not been put forward in terms of policy to help people who work. What stops Nigeria and other African countries from having a social welfare system that people contribute money into when they are working? And this money is invested and lent and reinvested so that by the time, here we know it in the United States, you work for 20 years, 15 years, 25 years, you retire, you get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 every month as benefits. Having retired, you have insurance, health insurance, you have so many other things. These are some of the things that if they are developed, if they are implemented, if laws and policies are put in place and properly implemented, people will think less of amassing wealth when they're actively working and look forward to retirement and enjoy themselves. Not that it's going to solve all the problems, because by nature we are very aggressive, we want to make money. In fact, if you're in a position and you don't make money, your community will not even recognize you. So it is in our nature to do it, but at least to some extent it will reduce the crave to, for people to make all the money meant for development to affect, to impact the lives of rural people, of poor people. We cannot be all educated, we cannot be all ministers. So some people, ministers are to be civil, to be servants. They are to serve, they are to make policies and implement policies that benefit, that is to the good and betterment of the people who can never be ministers, who can never be commissioners. So these are some of the areas that we should be focusing. We already know corruption is there. We cannot beat corruption. We cannot stop corruption. When Buhari is continuing his second year in office, corruption is still there. There's no solution. We have no solution that corruption has been eradicated. It can never be eradicated. Even in America, people still, get involved in corrupt practices. Whereas in Africa, we don't retire, we don't resign, no matter what names people call you. I mean, our Senate president is still there. 2 years now, going to 2 years. He's not retired. He's not resigned. Despite all the things, accusations and the complaints about him. So we have all these things to address, and these are some of the areas that I think we should be actually be focusing, talking about. Not stopping corruption. Corruption cannot be completely. It cannot be. It's not like an electric switch. You just switch it off. But all the elements that encourage people to want to amass wealth, and to the detriment of people who should be enjoying this wealth, including themselves. I mean, when a governor who retires as a governor after 8 years can give himself 300% benefit of what he earned as governor as his pension, and is in Senate collecting salaries again, and you're telling the masses that there's no money, there's this, there's that. I mean, there are things that should be done so that people, when they hear certain stories, they say, okay, these people are working for us. You cannot be working for people when you are earning salary and you are earning pension for serving for 4 years, or if you're re-elected for 8 years, you are earning all this money, your car must be changed each 3 years, your house must be renovated every year, and so on and so forth. People hearing it sometimes don't take it, no matter their level of education, they're human beings. And during elections, you give them money, you give them bags of rice, and they vote for you again. I mean, that is it's not a good policy. It's not a good way to govern. So our people should, as a matter of urgency, begin to address little things that impact the lives of the ordinary people, so that even if people are stealing in Abuja and Lagos, at least it trickles down to the people back home, back in the villages.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. FM. What we do also here is I just want our guests to know, we do networking. If for any reason, this is for you guests, if you want to, network with any one of the guests, we do it off air. You can contact me, and then we'll hook you up. We've been doing that for a long time. I just forgot to say it earlier. And also, we are going to go to Kwenu with 7964. But Dr. Aluya, please, before we sign off, make sure that you tell us how people can reach your office. And any one of you on there, if you have something that you can share with the community that you think the community should contact you, please feel free. The producer has signaled me that we can go beyond the 4 o'clock. So please, we will make sure that you put out all what you want to put out today. The official closing time is 4 o'clock, but we'll make sure that we make you get what you want to put out there 2 days. So now we go to the last 4 digits, 7964. Your name and where you calling from. This is Jersey Ghana Radio.
Kwenu, this is Ukache Uwadinovi calling from New York City.
I know, I saw your number and the map is
yes.
Here. I know exactly where you're calling from.
I'm so sorry. I've been trying to get on into the conversation, but unable to with the other advertised number.
Yes.
Kwenu,
Go ahead.
again, let me also congratulate my fellow Nigerians and my African brethren as well on our 56th anniversary of our independence. Unfortunately, it's a day that we're supposed to be looking at the rear view mirror of the Nigerian vehicle, as it were, and to see where we have been, and then to be able to make out where we are heading. Unfortunately, over the last 56 years of reflecting on the journey so far, we don't have anything that is very impressive in terms of giving us confidence in moving forward. As some of the speakers already have pointed out, Nigeria has a plethora of problems. I mean, you name it, the economy, the society itself, the population, security. All these are very, very crucial, very, very serious problems that in very significant ways, have been affecting, again, the country as a whole. But I think the major challenge that I see here of leadership is that we don't seem to be able to identify one key area that we can say, for example, a president running for office, normally would come up with either one single area of challenge to the country that they would really identify their candidacy with and hold themselves accountable for, and then pursue it, so that that will become a legacy of that president, during their administration. So in Nigeria, we don't seem to have that. Personally, I think we should really look first, say, for example, the transportation infrastructure area, which is deplorable, just deplorable. Everyone visiting Nigeria today, within the last year or so, can attest to the fact that our infrastructure, the road network, is just nothing to write home about, and this, in a very significant way, affects economic activities, so to say. Now, how can a country really pursue its economic goals, pursue social development works that will benefit the masses when it's basically hindered by lack of functioning road infrastructure? So I would say that we could really concentrate resources on tackling, again, first maybe just one that crucial area of infrastructure, developing our road infrastructure in a way that it would really enable the free flow of both people and goods within the country, so that people who are even engaging in agricultural activities, basically, would be able to harvest and then move their products to the markets across the country. Okay, and that also would help people to instead of congregating or concentrating in one area, say for example here in Lagos, with the density of population, okay, when we have very moderable, very dependable road infrastructure, people can live in rural communities. and then we'll still be able to either go to the city locations where they are working, or we have people who are traders, have agricultural products to bring to the market, can move their goods and services without necessarily living in those city locations. So the improved road condition will help to decentralize population densities in these cities. That is why we are having the intractable problem of congestion in these major cities, and in the long run, instead of improving the state of the economy, it actually really makes matters worse. So that's one area of attention that I think the country's leadership, can employ its resources and improve.
Well, thank you so much, Mazi Wadinobi, and he's also a writer, a columnist, and a cartoonist for Amandla newspaper, which I just happen to be the editor. And check your issue, the issue coming out next week or so. He has a very nice write-up on Trump Hillary 1 and a cartoon. You laugh yourself till you cry. Thank you so much, Mazi Uwa. And like I said, yes, it's 4 o'clock, but the producer said we can. So it depends on you now. But let's go to who hasn't spoken. Dr. Nelson. There's so many doctors here now.
I hear you.
Yes, Dr. Nelson. Now, please, before we even move on, just tell us, before I forget, as a practicing doctor, where is your location, and, how do people get in touch with you with health conditions and your area of specialty?
Right, okay. I'm trained in both internal medicine and pediatrics, and I work at the University Hospital in Newark, which is, I'm also a professor, assistant professor at the Rutgers University Medical School. My offices are in the hospital there. There's a doctor's office complex. You can call 973-972-1880. That's for the private office. And then I also have an office where I train the medical residents, and that's at the ACC, and that's in 140 Bergen Street. The previous one was 90 Bergen Street, and that's both in Newark. It's within the vicinity of the hospital. And the office for that one is the number for that one is 973-972-7000. You can reach me by email at, I have 2 emails. The hospital one is ALUYANO, that's ALUYANO, at njms.rutgers.edu, or on the personal email, and that's my first and last name, NelsonAluya@yahoo.com.
Yes, just let me recap. We also do this for our guests. Yes, you may not be able to write the email or the number down. You can all the time contact this station or contact me. Send me a text. 973. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the station now. Send me a personal text if you want to reach any of our guests, and all our guests. 201-704-5838. 201-704-5838. As an editor of a newspaper and this program, my number is in the public domain. So we do that to help our guests who come and spend 2 hours or more. And we've said it all the time. Dr. FM knows. Sometimes I send emails and text messages to him and others crying for help because our guests will have something that will come up and they can't make it. And I only have to read the ones I know. We also want to reiterate the thing that any subject, any theme is open. You have something that you think it will benefit the community, the African community here or in Africa, please. My number, you can contact any of us here, Professor Akono, who is also a scholar and a professor at Seton Hall University, Political Science and International Relations. Contact us. We will develop the topic. This particular topic was developed in conjunction with Mazi Uwa, who was our last speaker. So yes, you don't have to wait for us because, sometimes our avenues of thought get exhausted and we find it even difficult to come with a theme. And then again, so this particular program is for Africans and anything Africa. Africa and Africans, both home and away. So yes, so as we try to wind down, we will continue with you, Dr. Nelson, to give your summary. We'll just go one by one from that side. I see your map and your number. You are to the right of the screen. And I'm used to that because in Akan culture, when you greet people, you greet from the right-hand side. So continue, Dr. Nelson, with your summary of this program and your advice, whatever you want to say, and that will end with you as we go on, and then our producer would come in and thank you all, and then we'll run up. So Dr. Nelson, continue. From Dr. Nelson, we'll go to Dr. Uji, and we'll go to Mazi Kwenu, who is here, and then Dr. Enehu. Dr. Gompu. Yes, we'll go to Dr. Gompu, and then my Mazi, my cartoonist, my writer, he is all, So, Dr. Nelson, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's quite an exposing and revealing, telling, and consoling exposure to this. I'm overwhelmed with joy, knowing that there are people like you and other people who are out there putting huge efforts into the issues that concern, us, Africans, and both those in diaspora and those at home. I'm making stringent efforts to make positive change. I thank you and every other guest for the opportunity and for this avenue to be able to share ideas and thought processes, and even to learn from one another of all the things that are out there that plague us as in our common ideology and common consciousness. It's a great pleasure, and I pray God continue to give you the strength to push this on and be able to reach out to different avenues and reach out to other sources and push the message out there, not just for those of us who are up in age now, but for the younger people who to get involved and to know that there's a huge common gain for everybody when we're all involved in this discourse and this fight. I really appreciate you and thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nelson, for it's amazing, and this is a pure committed person, not as a doctor, as a committed African. I said it earlier. I just met him a couple of hours ago. This was my second meeting with him. Anyway, the first time was, I think, last year, December. We met at a function with the mayor of Newark, Honorable Ras Baraka. But today, when I met him, like you could deduce from me, he never knew we had such a program. I said, Doc, well, would you come on? And just as I was leaving, I left the place at 5 minutes after 1. I said, let me text it to you. So if you can, please. And he stayed 2 hours plus. That is what we want. That is what we want our role models to do for us. And so that we can learn from those who know, who share their ideas with us. We all the time say, what is the point of one accumulating wealth of ideas and would not share it with his or her community? You share it with yourself, you can't share it with yourself, you have to share with someone else. And We are amazed. We thank you so much. But the producer will do the overall thanking. Let's go to our brother, Dr. Ifem.
Okay, thank you, Kofi. This is very interesting. It has always been, and it will continue to be. I have this positive attitude towards things and life, and it makes it very enjoyable to believe that something will get better and make effort to actually making it become so. By discussing these African issues concerning Africa, concerning the whole world, but with particular reference or emphasis on Africa, is one way to, developing our personal attitudes and maybe influencing other people who listen or who read what most of us are scholars, practitioners, professionals. So sometimes what we do when we talk in a situation like this, like radio, sometimes if you teach, you also use some of the elements to talk to your students, and from student to student, whose students become teachers and so on, to their families, to their friends. So we spread information through what we do and through what we say. And this is very interesting. There's no one way to solve a problem. There's no one way to solve a problem. Somebody, and a speaker recent, a few moments ago, talked about African leaders having a program, something they say, this is what I'm going to achieve in office. This we don't have. We don't have agendas. We don't have things we say, okay, this is what we're going to achieve for 4 years. We shape it. So we just get in there and then we begin to move left and right wherever the wind blows us. And this is the problem with our leaders. So I believe that there is, a catalog of problems that Nigeria in particular, because we are dedicating today to Nigeria, that Nigeria Nigeria faces and can be able to solve. Nigeria is able to solve it if we have the right leadership. It's a question of leadership. All this corruption and everything we talk about is a matter of leadership. If you have a strong leader who believes that achieving result for everybody that is positioned to get this result. Result is there. If you want to go to school, the schools are there. You pay teachers, you put the schools in science labs and libraries and stuff. People will go and learn. Teachers will teach and get paid, and things function. Employers will employ people based on need, based on merit. The curriculum is there. You teach people the right thing that, help them get into industries, help them become self-employed, help them influence other people. That's how development can go. Now, there are basic structures and infrastructures that can help what people learn, what people internalize. That is, like somebody talked about, good roads, electricity, electric power, water. These are things that can help movement. Agriculture products can be moved from one location in the rural areas to the cities. And if we have energy, good electricity provision, people will stay more in the rural areas. Look at New York City. Very rich people in this area live in the outskirts of New York City. That is where they live quiet life. They avoid noise and pollution in the cities. If we have light, if we have good roads, in fact, I can drive from my village to work in Owerri, to work in Enugu, to go to Aba every morning and go back, because it's a very serene, quiet, riverine, beautiful Imo State town, But because such amenities are not available, I will go and live in the congested cities, and everybody wants to come there because that is where you can find at least gas or petrol to buy for your car. That's where you can find house to accommodate your family, and so on and so forth. So we really have a lot to do. But our leaders should begin to think about having some agenda, something that they want to accomplish, and they work towards accomplishing it. Now, Buhari may spend his 4 years, President Buhari may spend his 4 years fighting corruption and neglecting, not consciously neglecting, but because circumstances may not allow him to focus on other things. We've been talking about corruption, money stolen, money hidden, oil and everything. But what are the nearly 2 years now? What other policies has this government been able to implement? But if he achieves and solves the problem of corruption in entire 4 years, That is good. That is good, but that is not like a switch on, switch off problem. There must be some policies, some certain things that must move to help make sure that if it stops people from, having these corrupt tendencies, then they can something will move to the masses. That is what they gain from it. What are they going to gain from it? So far, the money recovered from corrupt politicians will not be distributed to the or given to the people who, the less privileged peoples, in that situation. But if these monies or monies that are generated as we move on in the administration, not waiting for recovery of stolen money, are used to build good roads, provide electricity, provide some other amenities and social welfare systems that encourage people to be less aggressive towards stealing money, I think Nigeria over time, 56 years, that's okay, but some of us are above 56 years in age. I mean, we can ask ourselves, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What have you achieved in 56 years? Or when I'm 56 years, or I'm past 56 years, you do a balance sheet of your life. So also nations, Nigeria should be able to do a balance sheet and move forward. There are problems are solved, problems come up again. Even solved problems sometimes reoccur. You solve them again, you find another strategy. So this is the approach. I think if our leaders can have policies, can have structure, can have programs they want to accomplish, you achieve one thing or two things in your 4 years, another person comes in, achieves one or two problems or successes, and just that way. If you happen to be there for 8 years, you do the first 4 years, you better improve a lot of things in the next 4 years, and so on and so forth, so that succession of government people they start from where the previous administration starts and make things better, instead of canceling everything and starting all over to create opportunities to steal money. These are things that will keep us the next, maybe forever, maybe not in our lifetime, those of us speaking on the radio this afternoon. But we hope that God and whatever will help us. Sometimes we can Africanize. You said something earlier, Kofi, that a certain herbalist, a certain native doctor, talked about African ministers swearing to juju. I mean, this is an African kind of solution. But the thing is that in modern times, in the age of globalization, we may not resort to bringing them to swear because that may not be their faith, their religion, and things. But then there are certain areas where we can take some drastic Afrocentric type of measures to solve our problems. European solutions may not always be good or best for Africa, for Nigeria, but sometimes we can do certain things in our own way to help our people to be honest, but not to swear to oath and stuff like that. But there are other African solutions to African problems. Nigeria has a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, and a lot of intelligent people, but some of them do not want to do the right thing because whatever they do, they have the means and the power to make sure that nobody speaks out. And sometimes it can go on and on. But I'm sure, hopefully, that the good days ahead, that we'll have to work hard this time around so that, in the present, so that the future could be better for us and our children and children's children. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. FM. And I just want to let our guests and other listeners know that there is amongst our listeners are a group of university students in Ghana who gather every Saturday. They gather around one computer, get money to buy units so they could, hook up with the internet and listen to this program religiously. They are university students in one of the most important universities in Ghana now. And I believe that they, like most of our listeners, including myself, Kofi, we learn a lot. We learn a lot. So don't think our guests that your contribution or your time, it's in vain. No, there are people there. They gotta run just only one computer. Sometimes they collect money so they can buy units on their computer and listen in onto this program. And they do that religiously. So we believe that they're learning something from it. And with that, you know what also, with our guests, apart from Dr. George Gompu, almost all our guests are Nigerians. I'm throwing a challenge, March 6th, the Saturday before on March 6th to Ghanaians. Trust me, we are going to have a lot of problem and a lot of fight getting Ghanaian intellectuals to come and speak like we are getting our Nigerians. I'm not indicting anybody, but that's our attitude. Trust me. So, producer, we have to start looking for Ghanaian intellectuals in January for their independence, 60th Independence Day. We will also dedicate it to Ghana. So now we go to Dr. George Gompu, who is originally from Liberia, and he was a former deputy minister of finance from the year 2008 to 2011, and currently a professor of economics at Ramapo College. Your summary.
Yeah, thank you, Kofi. I think this program has been quite enlightening, and as we celebrate the Nigeria's 56th independence, I hope that this kind of exchange will really encourage us as Africans and Nigerians in particular, especially, and also their policy makers, to really review what they are doing. You have covered, or this program has covered so many topics today, and the issue of security and the Boko Haram problem, the issue of the economy has been looked at. Clearly, there are a lot of problems, but as we have indicated, the potential is there, and I think the fundamentals are strong in terms of the natural resources and human resources that the country has to solve those problems. And I'd like to add that the issue of strengthening institutions is going to go a long way in helping to produce solutions. The problem of infrastructure is something that is important for economic development, for reducing poverty. However, when institutions are not strong to make people accountable, government can decide to put $5 billion or $6 billion into building better roads. But what happens to those contractors who take those contracts to build those better roads? Do they deliver $5 billion roads? In a number of cases, what happens is that people become rich through those infrastructure development programs because the institutions are not strong. So they take a $5 billion contract and deliver a $500 million road, and the rest of the money gets divided among people. So transparency and accountability are highly important in the whole development process. When we again reflect on Nigeria, some of the questions that we should be asking is, why is there, even though Nigeria is a federal system, but 12 states in the north have Islamic laws? Now, and then the rest of the states, the rest of the country, other places have a legal system that is based on English common law. Well, I think a number of people will agree that Islamic law will be religiously based. And so that creates some challenges, as the earlier guests have said. what if those laws are inconsistent with contributing to human capital development that will balance development across the country? So I think as we reflect and we celebrate this independence, those are some of the areas that need to be looked at as well. How to look at these institutions to find ways to reconcile the country. Having religiously based law in certain sectors of the country might create barriers to development. I know it's going to be challenged. People are not going to be happy with it, but leadership needs to take some bold stands when it comes to the issue of solving problems and promoting development. Secondly, the issue of Africans in the diaspora, especially Nigerians in the diaspora. It is good that Nigeria has this law that once a Nigerian, always a Nigerian.
Yes.
I think that is significant. And it can help. It can help to empower the Nigerians in the diaspora to organize themselves in order to help bring development and change to the country. Other African nations, including Ghana as well as Liberia, that does not even allow for dual citizenship, need to learn from that. Because again, this system, this law in Nigeria can empower those of us in the diaspora in order to collaborate our effort to help bring development to those countries. So in short, thank you for the opportunity. I think this is being helped by the advancement in technology and the fact that we can discuss these types of topics, and while at the same time people are listening in Africa, is significant, and it tells us that with this new technology, there are so many ways that we can work together collaboratively as Africans to ignore those colonial barriers that have divided us into so many different countries, to know that we are all Africans. Whatever happens on the continent, especially what happens in the region, affects each and every one of us, irrespective of which country we call ourselves. And so those of us in the diaspora have an opportunity to work together, to network, share ideas, and develop new solutions to help move the region and the entire continent forward. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you, Dr. George Gom. And this is not going to be the end of our marriage. This is your first time, as well as Dr. Nelson. We believe this is the beginning of a long-term marriage, and we all the time also ask people and businesses to support Jersey Ghana Radio, especially this particular program, which is once a week. Every Saturday we are here 2 to 4, and we try to brainstorm. We learn from people who know, but we need support. We need the financial dollars to keep this radio running and operating, because it's the voice of Africa, as a matter of fact. And with that, we go to my buddy, Kwenu Mazi. That's the last one there, and then we call it the close. Yes, you know why I'm laughing, but we're not going to say that. Kwenu, go ahead now.
Oh, my brother. Thank you very much, Kofi, for this just wonderful opportunity again to be on this program, and for you particularly in devoting a substantial piece of airtime to Nigeria's Independence Day celebration, and allowing our friends and our citizens to contribute ideas and thoughts while reflecting on these past 56 years of our independence. I must also commend you for the story that you just shared now with us concerning the group of students in Ghana who scrape their little resources, monetary resources, to be able to afford the opportunity to listen through the internet on this program every weekend. That goes to show you how immensely important and the immeasurable value of this program is to not just those of us here in the diaspora, but also, to the population back home. So I am hoping that going forward that this weekend program would develop into a very extensive vehicle of communication that would continue to bring our people together, our intellectuals, both as listeners or as contributors of ideas. Let's face it, because ideas are the things that really build a nation. Again, the focus being on Nigeria today, the potentials that are there in Nigeria really can only find fruit if we blend all these ideas coming from our folks in all different corners of the globe through programs like this. This is how these ideas germinate, and policy makers in positions of leadership can then implement these ideas and hopefully work towards realizing the innate potentials in them. Again, I want to say congratulations to you and to my fellow Nigerians on this 56th Independence Day of the country. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Uwadinobi, who has been very, very helpful. In fact, like I said, he helped develop. When I sent the theme to him, he made some changes, and he's an excellent writer, trust me. And that is, I don't know, but I think that is with Nigerians. You should start to read what Dr. Ene writes. It's unbelievable, amazing. So, well, we thank you so much, not only on Jersey Ghana Radio, and also on Amandla, that you help write columns and do our cartoon for us, and so on and so forth. And we want to thank Dr. Andrew Badu. He left. He had to do something, especially because he has been consistently helping Jersey Ghana Radio and this particular program also with advertising money. He helps us a lot. So we all the time try to also help those who give back to the community. So we are appealing to you. You have any problem? He's a nephrologist with 2 offices, one in East Orange and one in West Orange. I go to the West Orange one, which is 973-731-3800. 973-731-3800. And before we go to our producer to close the event, once again, all our guests, like I said, you think you have any topic that we can discuss? Yes, just reach out. We'll develop it like we did with Kwenu Uwa, and then we find guests, and then we go ahead. So, Siddiq Abubakar is our executive producer, and we like him to sum up and thank all our guests and our listeners, and then we'll bring the show to a final closure. Until next week, Siddiq finishes, we'll play music, and then until next week, we'll come back. This is Jersey Ghana Radio's Anything Africa. All for you, Siddiq.
Thank you, Brother Kofi. This has been wonderful. Listening to all our honored guests, Mr. Kwenu, what an amazing summary. Dr. Nelson, Dr. FM, our honorable former minister, we really thank you all for the amazing presentation. And to kind of sum up everything, we've talked about the progresses made in our giant, Nigeria. We've talked about the challenges. We have given possible solutions. We've also acknowledged the fact that not one man can solve the problems and not one solution fits all, that there are multiple ways of addressing some of these challenges that we face. But they are solvable. In the end, we've acknowledged that. And we have acknowledged also the fact that we can move the continent in the direction we seek if all of us can collectively work together, exchange ideas, contribute in every single way we can. I want to thank you all very much for devoting your weekend time, which can be used for so many other things, to the collective, call it ambition of the African to see progress, to see a moving forward for the future generation of Africa. We thank our listeners. Particularly, I want to mention the Love Light Retreat Group, which has just recently been connected with Jersey Ghana Radio for this our program every Saturday. They too distribute the advertisement for all the programs we do, and they invite their people to actually listen in from around the country. I also want to thank our station in New Jersey for a great and marvelous dedication to the collective growth of Africa. To our listeners, anywhere you are, this is All Things Africa. Thank you. Have a great one.
And Dr. Badu, we thank you once again for all your help. We need advertising dollars of, yes, all Africa. That's Sonny Augustine. Yes, please. You have some time this evening in South Jersey. All roads lead to lawyer test function in South Jersey. I'll see you there.
Jersey Ghana Radio, yet to so. 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 Jersey Ghana Radio, yet to so.